So exciting, so fun. Before we begin, the invite mentioned business attire. I'm afraid in my business, this is the attire. There is a true epidemic of caps and beards and a real lack of suits. Please do not take this as a lack of respect for this amazing and storied organization or for today's recipient of the Foreign Policy Association Medal, Sir Martin Sorrell, a man who has been at the very top of the advertising world for almost as long as the FPA has existed. Give or take. So, I didn't let him read this beforehand. We had a bit of an introduction there. I think that is an interesting component. I founded MediaMonks back in 2001. I dropped out as an idealistic 19-year-old thinking this is what the internet should do for us. We just heard quite a few stories of all the things it ended up not doing. I've worked with Sir Martin now for 15 months. We didn't sell, we merged messaging. And we teamed up really with S4 Capital, the then nascent S4 Capital. A move I've heard him describe as his third career in advertising after Saatchi & Saatchi and, of course, WPP. A very decent run. I can only share the excitement we have and my colleagues at that table to be part of his next step. I think that's going to be a step full of disruption and disintermediation. I think we actually heard some really interesting information just now on what has happened, because I think a large part of our side of the coin, our side of the industry, hasn't held up our end of the bargain when it comes about how do we use data, how do we use media, how do we use content, or as Sir Martin calls them, the Holy Trinity. So that's something we're very focused on. In those 15 months, I've come to know Sir Martin as a true force of nature, a self-made man who ended up building the world's largest advertising group and in the process changing the world of Mad Men to a global industry, driven by a constant and continuous drive to understand international affairs and business. I think it's hard to overestimate the impact he has had on the industries of creativity and commerce, and because of that, on all of us in this room and beyond. That ability to create true scale, I think, comes from an innate and intuitive understanding of the macro and micro issues of our world, and an ability to distill an ever-changing culture and its complex conversations into clear and concise steps and strategies, and of course, a few catchy sound bites. Or, as a client of ours recently commented, Sir Martin is one of the very few executives who has a truly global understanding of business. His list of accomplishments is long. He reminded me of that again and again, and as I was prepping this, I will refrain from running you through his full Wikipedia, but it would be remiss of me not to hit on some highlights of a dynastic 45-year career. He got knighted by the Queen of England in 2000. It's very Game of Thrones. It's a real thing. He chose as his motto, persistence and speed, a combination of words I've become acutely familiar with as we've started working together. He's the longest-serving CEO of a FTSE 100 company, and I think a record that will never be broken, and received the highest honor of the Harvard School of Business, the Alumni Achievement Award. And there is, of course, a long list of boards and bodies served. But when you talk to him about WPP, he keeps coming back to something else. It's the jobs created, the families supported, and the people connected that are mentioned. So on a personal level, I am, of course, impressed with his encyclopedic knowledge of world affairs, his relentless work ethic, which I'm sure some of this room will recognize by his record time responses to emails across time zones. But what is the most impressive is the sheer overwhelming goodwill he has managed to create in a business that is known more for its enemies and frenemies than for the enduring respect that greets him at every turn. So yes, a force of nature indeed. But in my time working with Sir Martin, what has also become clear is that it is his very nature that forces him to be open to the world. With a relentless energy and enthusiasm for advertising, of course, but also for the push and pull of policy, politics, people, and everything in between. I often refer to this last year or so as my MBA. Dropping out at 19, that was not part of the plan. MBA stands for Martin's Business Advice. A continuous lesson that has truly made this the most exciting and enjoyable professional experience of my 41 years. And in the process has also given me a hard to follow but very aspirational career path for the next 33. The Foreign Policy Association is a catalyst for awareness, understanding, and informed opinion. A description that is honestly almost too on the nose. I would expect that on Sir Martin's LinkedIn biography or as an introduction for one of his many interviews or panel discussions. One of which happened last week here in New York at Advertising Week. So before we bring Sir Martin up on stage, I would like to paraphrase him from that panel. Why is everyone so gloomy? There is amazing opportunity and potential for growth. A message and mindset to live by, so please join me in welcoming Sir Martin to the stage.